In this episode, a fearsome beast haunts three small settlements in Russia's far east. Isolated and surrounded by an icy wilderness, villagers are picked off one by one by an enormous and elusive Siberian tiger. They call him the Devil. Hit that like button and subscribe right now. This is the terrifying true story of the Siberian tiger attacks of the 1920s that killed hundreds of innocent people. Welcome to Final Affliction. In eastern Russia lies Kamchatka Peninsula. This long spit of land stretches for over 770 miles and covers an area of over 100,000 square miles. This vast volcanic peninsula is breathtakingly beautiful, yet sometimes lethal. The winters in Kamchatka are long and severe, with prolonged cold and snowy weather. Temperatures can reach as low as minus 30 degrees Celsius or minus 20 Fahrenheit. Yet the weather isn't the only lethal thing around. Back in the 1920s, the people of Kamchatka weren't only battling the elements, there was another killer on the loose, a man-eater. A Siberian tiger, weighing up to 800 pounds, was prowling the villages on the peninsula, picking off individuals one by one. The death toll began to mount up. The first victim of the tiger was a young man from the village of Kluchi. He was out chopping wood one afternoon in the forests on the fringes of the frozen tundra. The sound from the falling trees had caught the attention of the tiger some 2 miles away. With each blow of the axe, the tiger inched closer. Its carefully placed paws made deep footprints in the snow. Its white underbelly lightly brushed the glistening ground. Stealthily, the tiger crept through the woodland until it could see the woodsman. A clear line of sight. The tiger locked its eyes onto its target, and with that, the young man's fate had already been sealed. A few more strokes of the axe and the tiger rushed at him. The young man caught a glimpse of something orange and black out of the corner of his eye. He turned just in time to see a huge tiger launch itself right at him. It knocked him to the ground, knocking the air from his lungs. He tried to fight back, but the sheer weight of the animal kept him pinned to the cold, hard snow. Then the bite came. The tiger wrapped its canines around the man's neck, crushing his windpipe. The man lay still in the snow. The tiger dragged the man's body into the woods to feast on him at its leisure. As the orange glow of the sun's last light faded onto the horizon, the icy tundra and surrounding woods fell into darkness. The man's wife raised the alarm when he did not return home that evening. A few of the villagers launched a search and rescue mission. Anyone left out after dark was unlikely to survive the night during Siberia's harsh winters. They walked straight to the site where the young man had been chopping wood. There was no sign of him, but his axe lay on the ground next to a pile of wood. Looking closer by torchlight, they spotted a trail of blood. It was leading into the woods. Cautiously, they followed it. Less than 200 yards into the trees, they found their fallen comrade. It was clear that he had been attacked and killed by a tiger. This was just the beginning. Over the next few months, 3 villages along the Kamchatka Peninsula were subjected to multiple tiger attacks. The tiger was indiscriminate. Villagers, young and old, were found savagely mauled yards from their houses. People went out to work in the fields, never to be seen again. That terrifying first winter lasted from October 1923 until April 1924 and claimed more than 15 lives. As spring sprung and the fields of snow and ice melted, more and more bodies were discovered. They all showed the characteristic signs of a tiger attack. Bloodied and dismembered, they lay scattered like rubbish on the icy plains. When the temperature began to warm the land, there was no sign of any more tiger attacks. People began to sigh in relief. Children were allowed to play outside once more, and farmers tended their fields without fear. It seemed the tiger had moved on. Maybe it had died or found new territory. Whatever had happened to it, people felt like they could breathe again and tried to put that devastating winter behind them. But this was not the end. As Kamchatka Peninsula descended once more into the harsh winter towards the end of 1924, the tiger struck again. This time, the elusive beast was bold. It was brazen. Not only did it pick off individuals who braved the outdoors, but terrifyingly, it began to enter people's homes. Like the devil himself, the tiger plucked people from their beds as they lay sleeping. In the dead of night, screams were heard throughout the village as time and time again, the tiger feasted. No one was safe. The communities plagued by death of loved ones called on the army to help. Not only did basic hunters try to track down the tiger, even a Red Army company came to the aid of the terrified villagers. The soldiers of the Soviet Union scoured the surrounding landscape for any signs of the beast. They were granted permission to use an aircraft to help them spot the tiger from the air. Eventually, a large tiger was tracked down and killed. The army celebrated the kill, posing for photos in front of the striped feline. It was an impressive animal, about 10 feet long and weighing 330 pounds. They were hailed heroes by the local communities, but the local hunters weren't convinced. When they inspected the dead tiger more closely, they felt a shudder run down their spines. Though an impressive tiger, the paws of this one weren't nearly big enough. The local hunters had seen the killer's paw prints in the snow before, and they had measured over 8 inches. This tiger didn't measure up. As winter descended on the villages towards the end of 1925, the attacks commenced once more. The villagers had been lulled into a false sense of security. The soldiers had given them hope, and now those hopes were dashed. They began to feel like this nightmare would never end. They began to feel that the tiger really was the devil. It evaded capture for the rest of the winter season, taking yet more innocent lives. The villagers grew weary. The only evidence left by the tiger, apart from the trail of corpses, was its footprints. Aside from being enormous, possibly belonging to one of the largest tigers ever to have lived, the footprints gave more information about the great animal. One of its 4 paw prints was less indented than the others, suggesting that the foot bore less weight. It was assumed that the animal had an injury and walked with an unusual gait. This could have explained the attacks. A predator that is less able to hunt its typical prey looks elsewhere. The villagers of Kamchatka Peninsula were easy targets. Lighter, slower, and less defensive than caribou, humans were there for the taking. After yet another wearisome winter, the tiger suddenly seemed to have vanished. Spring returned and the people cautiously went about their everyday business. When winter came in 1926, the locals braced themselves for another round of killings, but it never came. For 3 consecutive winters, the tiger had devoured the Russian people. Over 100 people were killed in 1923, 24, and 25. The remains of most were found days or even weeks later, but some simply vanished without a trace. Since then, and with generations gone by, people still talk of the winters when the devil came to town. No one knows what happened to the tiger. Perhaps it went off to find new hunting grounds. This seems unlikely though, as an apex predator with little to fear, a large territory with bountiful prey, it would be foolish to leave. Perhaps the tiger died, or perhaps it really was the devil, and the devil eventually returned to the fiery depths of hell after sending over 100 innocent people to their unfortunate final affliction.